So today we're sitting here with Luke Tees. Luke, you're actually someone who hasn't had a transplant.
Yeah, not me. Was around for it though.
So who was it that had the transplant? And tell me a bit about the story behind it.
Yeah, so 2 years ago in 2019, my partner Ailish had a double lung transplant. I've been with Ailish we've been together for over 7 years now, but I knew her even before that. And Ailish has cystic fibrosis. So over the course of her life and the time that I've known her, her lungs were slowly getting worse and worse, and her ability to do simple things like exercise and just generally stay out of hospital were declining. And it got to the point in 2018 where things were her health was getting considerably worse. There are a number of incidents where she had to be rushed to hospital, and it was pretty horrible for her and obviously, but then for all of us there with her as well. And the decision was made by Ailish and the team, the cystic fibrosis team, to put her on the transplant list, and that happened early 2019. She went on the list, and well, I mean, we understood that the waiting time to get your transplant is different for everyone, and so it's really difficult to sort of know, is this going to be something that happens tomorrow, or is this going to be something that happens 6 months down the track? In that time, I left my job so that I could spend more time with Ailish and also just help her, because she was at a point where doing things was pretty difficult. And she was on the transfer. So I said we. It was Ailish that did most of the hard
It's a
work,
team.
not me.
It is a team effort. Anyone who goes through it knows that you couldn't do it on your own. You do need a support crew. So I definitely understand the we.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely did the hard yards. But yeah, we did it. We had a really good support crew, and Ailish's family is so supportive, and they're also, having grown up with cystic fibrosis, they really understood what was going on. So I think cystic fibrosis is probably different to a lot of people who end up getting transplants, because she knew from a very young age, well, not from a very young age, but from a much younger age than others would, that transplant was something that she was going to eventually need. So in other cases where it's something that has to happen quite quickly, maybe there's not that preparation, but Ailish had known eventually a transplant was going to be required. And like I said, I think we were on the list for 2 months. We actually had booked a night in a hotel in the city. We were in quite a nice room with a view of the harbour to watch Vivid. And we went out to a nice dinner that night. We had no idea what was coming, but at 4 a.m. that night in the hotel, got a phone call, and you don't get many phone calls at 4 a.m. And if you're on the transplant list, pretty good chance it's going to be for getting called in. So we're called in that night. Luckily, we had our bags packed already because we were at the hotel, and headed into St. Vincent's Hospital. And it was the first time she got pulled in. I know that some people will be called in and sent back home, but she was called in on that day and had the transplant first time around, basically. So yeah, that was 2 years ago when that happened.
And how's she going now?
She's going really, really well. It's hard to even think about what it was like in those days leading up to the transplant. She's as healthy as I can remember ever seeing her, which is incredible. We're able to do all the things we love to do. Obviously, COVID is a bit of a dampener, but the fact that she's so healthy right now makes it a lot easier to sort of handle. She's back working. She's got a job that she loves, and we're living together now. So yeah, it's the 180 that we've had on our lifestyle. It's just incredible to think about post transplant.
And with that 180, did you ever expect it to go as well as it did? Or were you sort of
It's a
thinking, oh, she'll have the transplant, but she might not get that much improvement? Or
that's a really interesting question, and I think the truthful answer is I didn't let myself think about it. I sort of actively stopped myself from thinking about what our life would be like, because I found it just sort of, that unknown was a bit too much for me to deal with. And to be honest, I didn't know too much about what life would look like post transplant. I just sort of saw it as something that had to happen and we had to get through. And really, I was willing to sort of yeah, take whatever happens. But I mean, the outcome that we've had is just incredible.
so you were sort of focused more in just day by day, just
Absolutely.
not even thinking about what might happen post transplant, just get to that next point, and which is what happens when you're sick. You're in that mindset, aren't you, where you're just focusing on that. All right, well, what have I got to get to that next section and move to the next one? And
Yeah, I think Ailish and I were both like that. We didn't really want to think past it, because it's just it was such an unknown. And I mean, I wish I could go back and say to myself, like, look, it's going to be all right. But we went into that process just thinking, all right, let's get through today and see what happens tomorrow. And while I guess that is one mindset and one way that you can cope with those issues, I also think maybe we could have, if I'd known a little bit more about the process, maybe we could have looked to the future and looked to the positives that were going to be there. But it is just, it's a scary thing to think about.
exactly, and a lot of the time, like you said, you don't want to go there. It's essentially what we're trying to do here is give people a bit of an insider point of view of other people who've been through it and their own perspectives. And obviously everyone's different, but at least seeing, firsthand account from other people might contribute to an easier journey.
Absolutely.